India is bringing a 25-year-old Russian fighter deal back to life, and this time the goal is bigger than simply adding aircraft. Hindustan Aeronautics Limited is restarting production of the Su-30 MKI at its Nashik facility, with at least 12 new fighters planned. The first deliveries should begin in the next financial year, and India expects the batch complete by 2029. India faces a fighter shortage, while tensions with China and Pakistan demand a larger fleet. New Delhi also wants its Russian-built fighters to become increasingly Indian. Behind this production restart sits an even bigger possibility. India could be preparing the industrial infrastructure that eventually helps it build Russia's Su-57, a fifth-generation fighter on Indian soil. So why return to a fighter design that first entered service decades ago? And what does that tell us about the future of Indian air power? India has operated the Su-30 MKY since the early 2000s. The aircraft became the Air Force's backbone because it combines long-range, heavy weapons capacity and twin-engine performance. India has already built 222 Su-30 MKIs under license at HAL, while Russia supplied another 50 fully assembled aircraft. That makes the type the most numerous fighter in Indian service. Indian companies increasingly handle components, maintenance, avionics, and weapons integration. The next batch could contain roughly 50% indigenous content. But local production costs considerably more than Russia's equivalent aircraft. The Su-30 MKI can cost close to twice as much as the Russian Su-30 SM. Yet India keeps buying it, because the strategic value extends beyond the aircraft itself. India needs more fighters. The Indian Air Force has long struggled to maintain its desired number of operational squadrons while older aircraft retire. India approved 12 additional Su-30 MKIs in 2023 and signed the contract in December 2024. Local calls for more than 70 additional aircraft could eventually push the fleet toward 350. India cannot wait for future fighter programs to mature before filling today's gap. The Su-30 MKI already has trained pilots, maintenance systems, weapon stocks, and bases. India can expand this ecosystem faster than it can create an entirely new one. That is the advantage of a mature platform. It may not be the newest fighter, but the military already knows how to operate it. And India is not simply buying more of the same aircraft, it is trying to turn the Su-30 MKI into a more capable generation of fighter. India's larger plan involves upgrading existing Su-30 MKIs through the Super Sukhoi program. The proposed modernization could transform the aircraft's combat systems. India wants a new active electronically scanned array, or AESA radar. The upgrade could also add improved electronic warfare equipment, avionics, and infrared sensors. Another option is the Russian AL-41F1S engine. Russia uses this engine on advanced Su-30SM variants, and India has considered whether similar technology could improve the Su-30 MKI's range and performance. Then comes the missile question. The Su-30 MKI could potentially receive the Russian R-77M, a modern air-to-air missile designed to give Russian fighters greater reach against airborne targets. Put those upgrades together, and the result is not simply an old fighter with new electronics. It becomes a much more dangerous long-range platform. Its size and payload capacity also make it useful for long-range missions. But the most important part of India's strategy may not sit inside the cockpit. it may sit inside the factory. India and Russia are discussing something far more ambitious than another Su-30 MKI batch. In January 2026, India's Defense Ministry confirmed that talks over licensed production of Russia's Su-57 had reached an advanced technical stage. That matters because the Su-57 belongs to a different generation. It combines low observable design, advanced sensors, electronic warfare, and networked combat capabilities. Russia has also reportedly offered India unusually deep industrial access, including potential access to source code as part of a license production arrangement. If India eventually builds the Su-57 domestically, the Su-30 MKI production line could become strategically important. HAL would not simply manufacture another Russian aircraft. It could gain deeper experience with advanced materials, avionics integration, software, manufacturing processes, and complex fighter assembly. That fits India's broader ambition to become a major defense manufacturer rather than remaining primarily an arms importer. And that is where the Su-30 MKI story becomes much bigger than 12 aircraft. For India, the immediate benefit is straightforward: more fighters without waiting years for a completely new platform. The longer-term benefit could be industrial. More indigenous content also gives Indian companies experience producing hardware, maintaining systems, and integrating weapons. That could strengthen India's ability to sustain a large air force during a prolonged crisis, when foreign supply chains could become vulnerable. For China, the development matters because the Su-30 MKI is one of India's principal long-range combat aircraft. A larger fleet, combined with better radar, electronic warfare, and missiles, would strengthen India's ability to monitor and contest Chinese air activity along the Himalayan frontier. For Pakistan, the equation also deserves attention. A fleet approaching 350 Su-30 MKIs would give India a substantial heavy fighter force. Pakistan would have to account not only for the aircraft's numbers, but also for future upgrades that could significantly increase detection and engagement ranges. There is another global implication. India is balancing Russian military technology with partnerships with Western countries. It buys Russian aircraft, French Rafales, and American equipment while developing its own systems. That strategy gives New Delhi leverage and reduces dependence on one supplier. For Russia, India offers something increasingly valuable: a major customer that can also become a manufacturing partner. If the Su-57 deal advances, Moscow could gain a powerful industrial relationship at a time when Western sanctions have constrained Russia's defense market. The risk is that India could spend heavily modernizing a platform whose basic airframe design dates back decades, while newer Chinese fighters move further into stealth and networked warfare. That makes the Su-30 MKI restart a calculated trade-off: quantity and industrial capacity today, while India builds the technology for tomorrow. India is not reviving the Su-30 MKI because it has abandoned the future. It is reviving it because New Delhi needs enough combat power today to buy time for that future to arrive. The real story is not 12 new Russian fighters. It is India turning an old Russian aircraft into a bridge between today's fighter shortage and tomorrow's ambition to build advanced combat aircraft at home.